Okay, before I begin chapter 1 here, I do need to tell you this. In the end of book 2, which if you haven't heard that one yet, I have that on one of my playlists for the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, book 2. And at the end of that book, these researchers, along with Baird-Spalding, they had been in a room hewn out of rock, and they were transcribing manuscripts of old into new manuscripts, and they were assisted by an old man of the records. I think his name was Chandler Sin. And they had came in that morning only to find that he had died. He was laying there and he was dead, and they were upset. And then Jesus and some other masters showed up, and they raised him from the dead. And so they witnessed this old man get up alive and young looking. And it was such an amazing experience to them that they were so affected by it. You'll see how affected they were, because after I read this, you will see they were like in another kind of reality. And it was amazing. It was an amazing thing for them to have witnessed. So I began, so you know that was what had just transpired. Chapter 1. After those assembled had departed, my associates and I stayed on, loath to leave the place where we had witnessed such a transformation. No words can describe our feelings and the tremendous uplift of those last hours. The words, all for one and one for all, blazed forth as vividly as when they first appeared. We did not talk. We could not say a word. Although we were in the same general position until daylight, we had no sense of being confined in a room. Our bodies seemed to emit a brilliant light, and wherever we walked we had no sense of limiting walls, although just previous to the experience we were in a room hewn from solid rock. There did not seem to be a floor under our feet, yet we moved freely in any direction. Words absolutely fail to describe our thoughts and sensations. We even walked beyond the confines of the room and the cliff, yet we had no feeling of being hampered. Our garments and everything about us seemed to radiate a pure white light. Even after sunrise, this light seemed brighter than that of the sun. We seemed to be in a great sphere of light, and we could look through this crystal ray and see the sun as it appeared far away, shrouded in a haze. It actually seemed cold and uninviting compared with the place where we stood. Although the thermometer registered 45 degrees below zero, and the country was covered with snow that sparkled in the morning sunlight, in the place where we were, there was a consciousness of warmth, peace, and beauty that surpasses expression. It was one occasion in which thoughts could not be put into words. Here we stayed for 3 more days and nights, with no thought of rest or refreshment. There was not a sign of fatigue or weariness, and as we looked back upon the time, it seemed as if it passed in an instant. Yet we were conscious of each other's presence and of the passing of the hours. There was no sunrise or sunset, just a continuous glorious day, not a vague dream, but every moment an actual reality. And what a vista of the future opened before us! The horizon seemed to be pushed back into eternity, or as our chief expressed it, it seemed to be expanding into a boundless and eternal sea of throbbing, pulsating life. And the great beauty of it all was that it was for all to see and know, not just a few, but for all. On the 4th day, our chief suggested that we go below to the room of the records in order to again take up our work of translation. Upon making the move to proceed, we found ourselves standing all together in the room. I can but let the reader picture our astonishment and joy We had moved 2 stories down and accomplished 2 flights of stairs without the least physical exertion on our part, and without the least knowledge of the accomplishment. Yet there we were in the room among the records where we had been working. It was all aglow with light. The place was warm and cheerful, and we could move anywhere we wished without the least effort. When we took up one of the tablets and placed it in a convenient place for study, its context and meaning were translated to us perfectly. When we began writing these translated conclusions, suddenly a whole page of manuscript would be filled with the text in our own handwriting. All we need do was to place the pages together in the manuscript form. In this way we finished manuscript after manuscript of these translations. By 2 o'clock that afternoon we had finished and filed 12 manuscripts of over 400 pages each, and we experienced not the least fatigue from this pleasant occupation. We were so engrossed that we were unconscious of the presence of others in the room, until our chief stepped forward with a greeting. We all looked up to see Jesus, Emil, our hostess, and Chandler Sin, the man of the records, whom we had at first called the old man of the records, but whom we now knew as the young man. There were also Bagat Iran, and a stranger to whom we were introduced as Ram Chandra. We later learned his familiar name to be Bud Ra. A table was cleared and prepared for our meal. We sat down, and after a few moments of silence, Jesus spoke. Almighty and all-prevailing Father Principle, which shines forth ever triumphant from within us out to all the world, and is the light, love, and beauty which we are experiencing this day, and which we always experience if we will, we bow before this altar on which burns the undying fire of perfect love, harmony, true wisdom, unending devotion, and pure humility. This sacred light shines steadily on, undimmed, from within the souls of those who are now gathered at this, the altar of true fathership, sonship, and devoted brotherhood. This divine light doth shine forth from those near and dear ones, out and out to the most remote places of all the world, that all may see its great light and may experience its undimmed and unquenchable love. The rays of this all-pervading light, beauty, and purity shine through the receptive souls and hearts of those who are gathered at this, your altar. We are now conscious of these all-consuming and embracing rays of love, and we send them forth, and they transmute, blend, and harmonize all mankind. It is the true and pure Christ of God standing forth from each and all that we salute and stand face to face with, equal to, one with God. Again, we salute God, our Father, right within and standing forth. After Jesus ceased speaking, we all arose upon the suggestion that we return to the room where our former experience had taken place. As we started toward the door, we realized that we were already there. After Jesus... lost my place. This time, we were conscious of moving, but not conscious of the cause of locomotion. As soon as we expressed the desire, we were actually in the upper room. Although the shadows of evening were well advanced, our way was perfectly lighted, and we found all aglow with the rich beauty and effulgence that had been there when we departed. The reader will recall it was in the room we had just left that Chandler Sin returned to us after being brought back from what we looked upon as death. To us that room was a shrine, and it seemed aglow with all possibilities, a sanctified place where we ourselves had been able to step forth to a greater accomplishment than as mortals we had previously known. From that time on, till April the 15th, the day of our departure, not a day or night passed that we did not all meet together for at least 1 hour. During this time the room never again assumed the appearance of solid rock. It seemed as though we could always see through those walls into infinite space. It was in that room that the bonds limiting consciousness were removed. It was there that a great vista of the future opened to us. We all sat down at the table, and Jesus resumed the conversation. It takes a true motivating thought focused on a central absorbing point or ideal to bring forth or accomplish, and you, as well as all mankind, can become that motivating center. Not one thing comes forth unless man first expresses the ideal. At one time, man was fully conscious that he was this motivating center and lived fully conscious of his inheritance and dominion. He lived consciously in a condition that you term heaven. All but a few have let go of this divine gift, and today the great majority are absolutely unconscious of this divine quality, which is mankind's true inheritance. What man has done once, he can accomplish again. This is the principle back of the endless array of life and manifestation that you see all around you, and includes your own life, together with that of every existing thing, as every existing thing has life. Ere long, science will give you ample grounds for saying that things are not material, as science will soon see that all things can be reduced to one primal element, containing innumerable particles universally distributed, responding to vibratory influences, and all in perfect and absolute equilibrium or balance. Hence, it follows, on mathematical grounds alone, that it took some definite moment, some initial action, to draw together the infinite particles of this all-pervading, universal natural substance in order to bring them into form as selective objects. This power did not originate wholly within a particle, but is a power greater, yet at one with the particle and you, through your thought and definite action, cooperating with the vibration. Give selectivity to these particles. Thus will physical science be compelled to understand through necessary deductions, so that scientists will recognize the presence of a power which at this time is not understood, because it is inactive, and which is inactive only because it is not recognized. But when recognized and communed with by man and brought into actual expression, it is fully capable of separating certain specific areas for the specific display of this universal cosmic energy. Then there is built up what you look upon as a material universe, with all its different manifestations, by an orderly process of evolution. If orderly, then each stage must lay the foundation perfectly for the greater development of the stage that is to follow. If you can accomplish progress in perfect order and harmony of thought and action, you are in actual accord with power, and this power brings forth on an unlimited scale the faculty of selecting the means to an end. You distribute life and energy under a recognized order of cosmic progression. This then is not a material universe as you have thought. This is only your definition of it. It came forth from spirit, and it is spiritual, if you will define it as such. This is orderly, true, basic. If orderly, it is scientific. If scientific, it is intelligent. It is life united with intelligent life. Life coupled to and guided by intelligence becomes volition, and through volition it becomes vocation. Spirit is the primary, vibrating, originating power, and you may enter into spirit and use its power by the simple acceptance or knowing that it does exist. Then let it come forth, and the whole of spirit is at your command. To you it becomes an ever potent spring of perpetual and original life right within yourself. This does not take long years of study, nor need you go through training or hardships or deprivation. Know and accept that this vibration does exist, then let it flow through you. You are one with great creative mind substance, thus you know that all things do exist.